Previously on Coupled with Chaos personal podcast.
In talking about all the things that happened this week, I just had the realization, wow, that was this week. It seems like it was forever ago.
Yeah.
Because so much happened this week.
It's a lot. But, I hurt my thumb, but whatever,
Whatever.
Whatever. That's great.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Coupled with Chaos.
It's rare that you throw around, some big words.
Yeah.
There's some big words sometimes.
I have
that
to be kind of riled up.
have to be. Sometimes maybe they need to be thrown around.
I don't know.
Man, I don't know. You were pretty warm today.
I was pretty warm.
We are Sunday mornings, I think all mornings for the last couple of weeks, have been started by you taking our foster dog to the PetSmart.
Yes. For doggy day camp.
And so this morning, it was raining, and so you took her in. And what we noticed is we were in the vehicle waiting for you to come out. And as you came out, well, you didn't come out for a long time.
Yeah.
This is a while.
And I pulled up to the curb to avoid getting soaked so I could dash in and out.
Yeah, this would
But it
generally
took about 10 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes to go through this process. 10 minutes later, we do not hear anything of you. I'm like, uh-oh, something's going on. I have no idea what it is, but it's probably not good. I figured the last time this happened, you came back out with the dog.
Right, you're right, I did.
It was...
She was sick, and they wouldn't take her.
Yeah.
Even though they asked me to bring her.
Well, she wasn't sick anymore, but she was still on meds.
She was on meds.
And so this was the thing that they cared about.
They forgot to check to see if she was on meds. I knew she was on meds, and then they told us to bring her in, and then we got there, and they said, "Oh, she's on meds. She can't be here." And it was the day after our dog died, so I was not happy.
Right, this is not.
And then we had to miss church because we had to take her back home.
It was just not a good, day.
Yeah.
And so this morning it's going down again, and 10 minutes later. You come out, and you're a bit warm when you come out, but you're without the dog. So
Right.
I think that this is a positive thing. But it was not.
Yeah. I looked at you and I was like, well, we have a problem.
Like, oh, no.
And what had happened was I got in there, and the staff member who was working this morning was on the phone when I got there. She finished her conversation, and she looked at me and said, well, something happened.
Now, normally, if this is a thing, she bit somebody.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, really? What?
I'm thinking of it's an event.
Well, I didn't hear of anything last night when I picked her up. So
Last night I
she'd
thought
been
you would
with
hear
us
something.
since then. So I was like, okay, oh, really? What's going on? Didn't think it was about her because she was with us. And she said, well, hold on, let me call the supervisor and get this straight before I tell you. I was like, okay. So she calls her back. They have a conversation. She hangs up, and she says, okay, here's what happened. She said the senior animal control officers often come in on the weekends and bring their kids to see the dogs. It's just something they do regularly. She said apparently one came in last night before you picked Harper up. And apparently Harper was barking and growling and lunging in her kennel when he brought his kids in.
Maybe this is the animal control officer that picked her up.
Right.
You're the one who started this whole thing.
And she said he was not happy, and he went home and emailed the supervisor of the PetSmart staff and said he was shocked that they had such an aggressive dog at PetSmart. Because they have rules for friendliness of dogs that can be at PetSmart. And that she needed to be moved into the corner.
Baby doesn't sit in the corner.
Right. We already moved her from the corner to the focal point of when you open the door so that she'd have an opportunity to assess people before they got to her kennel, hoping that would help her not feel surprised by somebody whipping around the corner and, oh, hey, somebody's in my space.
Well, maybe she is a good assessment of people.
And that's what I'm thinking.
And so, what if this was like the dude who captured her?
Yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't you not be happy?
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. So I said...
I'd be mad.
Yeah, I was like, so you're going to move her? And she goes, well, look at her. She's so sweet. She was licking my hands while we were sitting there. I said, I know. Like, I've seen so many dogs in PetSmart that freaked me out because they're so actually aggressive. You know, leaping up at the ceiling, like they're trying to jump out of the kennel, and, you know, more of the barrier reactivity, kennel neurosis kind of behavior that you see at the shelter when they've been there a long time. The barking incessantly, you know, all that. And maybe she does that when people walk up. But everybody on the staff knows she's a different dog as soon as you take her out of the kennel. And so they don't have a problem with her at all. They told me she could stay there indefinitely as long as her behavior didn't deteriorate.
Well, maybe not, according to the animal control officers.
So I came out and she said, I'll put it this way when I was leaving. She goes, I'm not going to move her today. But if you come in through the week and you find that sometime between now and Wednesday she gets moved, it's because one of us had to move her. Because of this message.
Yeah, I still kind of wonder, like, who's in charge of that? Like, who's really the boss of that scenario?
Yeah, so I was kind of upset by it because I came out and I said to you, well, this guy could have the power to, one, make notes on her kennel file about behavior that could get her kicked out of PetSmart.
Sure.
And if she gets kicked out of the doggy day camp program, how am I supposed to get her adopted? Because we know she has barrier reactivity. We know she needs time to get comfortable around other dogs also. She had gotten to a point where she and our dogs were friendly at one kitchen gate.
Sure, at a barrier.
Touching noses
Yes.
through the gate. And, you know, she's been here 5 weeks. It takes time for all of them to get comfortable, even our dogs. But we're at a point where Cookie and her were really starting to be friendly, jumping to the top of the gate and greeting each other. And there was no growling anymore. Helen had stopped growling at her. And Pepper was still kind of indifferent. She would lay at the gate and look the other direction.
Well, yeah, she's just in protest.
Right.
I'm indifferent.
But there was no aggression between her and our dogs. But that wouldn't have been the case like the day we brought her home. You know, it was a slow, gradual, slow introduction process. And she was that way with people, too. If she saw somebody, she'd growl. But if somebody got on the ground and let her come to them and was properly introduced, she'd be friends pretty fast. And so I felt like she warmed up quickly with people. She was just initially wary, and you should be. I mean, I think you want your kids to be like that too. Hey, get away until mom says you're okay.
I think people just, and you kind of see it when you deal with other people, is some people who haven't been around dogs, you know, what you tend to do is go around and put your hands in their faces.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
And you invade their spaces, and they don't react so well to that.
Right.
So you were none too happy with this animal control person.
Yeah, because, you know, how else are we supposed to get her adopted? Because the only thing that would be left would be taking her to adoption events. And they have to be eligible and deemed dog-friendly to go to events. And they'd already marked her as dog selective before she ever left the shelter with me. Based on a single 5 minutes in a thing outside, which they pulled her from pre-euthanasia to do, and walked other dogs past her to see what she would do. And this was the full assessment that she got.
Yeah.
So
there's just so many dogs. It's got to be hard for them.
Yeah, but we know her, and the staff at PetSmart know her. and everybody loves her.
Yeah, so at what point do you go, and I could understand them not taking our word for it.
Right.
I get that. That makes sense. We would be biased in some way.
But staff has already been around her, assessed her, knows she's a good dog.
Yeah, they would have spent, what's it been, 2 weeks?
More than that.
Off and on,
Jessie was there 2 weeks. She was there before that.
They have spent 2 weeks with her all during the day, right? From, let's just call it 9 in the morning until 6 at night, right?
It was
for days and days and days and days.
At least 3 weeks.
And so you would go, you think you would talk to these people versus somebody who comes in and just drops a bomb, you know, and does that.
Yeah, so it upset me because I didn't want this guy, whoever he is, in his 5-minute assessment of her in a kennel, you know, trumping all the progress that we've made. And we knew we were close.
Yeah, there were people
making
around.
Movement with her.
There's been
some interest. And so, yeah, it was pretty hot. I actually was in tears when we got to church.
Immune, like these animal control agents. I guess there's no real thing to say that they're dog people.
No.
You could this is your job, I understand, right? And so there's a chance you could be dog people, but I think after how many dogs did they take in over the weekend?
Well, they did 49 in one day. Yeah. And in the summer and at holiday time, it's not unusual to have 100 a day. And they have, 540 some dogs at one of the 2 shelters all the time. It's insane, the number of animals in care. It's crazy.
And so I get that they wouldn't necessarily get a good assessment. And what they're trying to do is take dangerous dogs and I guess get them out of the system is what they're trying to do. So that's the point here is, are you eating up a spot that a non-aggressive dog could be in? I mean, that's their goal, right?
I'm not sure what the goal is. I'll be honest. I think it depends on the person, because there are some really compassionate, caring staff people.
We can't save them
at
all.
The shelter, and there are some who really shouldn't be there. And I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
And I'm not the only person who feels that way.
I think it's like a control power.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And, especially with animal control officers, I think, they can have a bit of a power trip sometimes. I've seen them.
Well, I think it's in any industry that happens,
Well, and you think about like prison guards too. It's the same kind of power and control. And there's some that just thrive on that. Being able to assert themselves over someone else.
Or a thing, whatever it is. Whatever power you're going to have.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell.
Yeah. But in any case, it made me very upset.
Yeah.
I was not happy.
You're pretty not happy a lot. Most of the day.
Yeah.
This was this really ate at you.
It did.
And for us, I think the realization was that it was a good chance that we were going to, we thought that we get yanked out of there possibly.
Right.
And so it was like, well, we need to do probably a better job of our own of maybe integrating her and finding another solution to this.
And it may have been having her spend more time with our dogs and just keeping her.
Sure.
Because there's no way I was just going to let her rot away.
Yeah, this doesn't happen.
At the shelter.
She is indeed one of the best dogs that we've had.
Yes. And that was the sad part of it all. It's like, and I talked many times with the PetSmart staff, who are also shelter staff people. They're animal control people too. They're just placed there to work the adoption center. And so, we'd had conversations about her and, making changes to best show her. And we had decided that she greets people very differently when I'm there with her. Outside of the kennel. If I just have her on a leash in the lobby, she was great at meeting people. I introduced her to lots of people. When I was just standing there, picking her up, having a conversation at the desk, and somebody would walk up, and I'd go, hey, she's available too. And she would be friendly and have no problem.
Well, it's about being in a trusting situation.
Right. She would sit on my feet until they got down, and made themselves, look non-threatening to her. And then she would be completely friendly. She even rolled over and showed her belly to one guy.
Yeah.
So, we had talked about that and how she just doesn't show well in a cage because of the fear that it puts in her to be confined like that.
If you've not been to a shelter at some point, you just go, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's just loud and nuts and smelly and loud and loud.
Yes.
And
I've never left without pounding headache. So
you get them released to you. We have them at night, take it to doggy daycare during the day, and then rotate it back and forth. We've talked about it quite a bit. And this guy comes in on a Saturday and drops a bomb.
Yeah.
And then puts all of that at risk.
That was not cool at all.
But I think for this, we don't know who this guy is.
Nope.
Probably better that we don't.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'd probably start stalking him.
Yeah.
But I think we got the last laugh on this guy.
Yeah,
right?
sure did.
And so we'll talk about that when we come back.
Thank you for listening.
You can listen to the rest of this episode
By subscribing to our Coupled with Chaos channel on Apple.
by subscribing to our Patreon
Or by subscribing to our Supercast,
for $3.99 a month.
where you can hear us talk about reality shows,
Real life and more on our podcasts.
covering shows airing on TLC, A&E, Bravo, and the WE Network.
Just follow the instructions in the show notes
Tell your friends about this podcast.
and rate and review us on your favorite podcast player.
Follow us at Coupled with Chaos on all the socials.
Or contact us directly by email at coupledwithchaos@gmail.com.